Ah, Viva Pinata, the game where you get to create your little slice of heaven and fill it with the most spectacular candy-filled animals you could ever imagine. Or it would be if this was the first game, but it's not. We've already covered Viva Pinata 1. Also, if you haven't watched it, make sure you go and do so. There's a lot of context in that video that I'm not going to be able to get into this time around. Because no, instead of having a nice time, we are going to be having an absolute nightmare as it is finally time to cover. Folks, I am not making this up in the slightest. Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise is easily one of the hardest grinds that I have ever done for the channel yet. For every achievement in this game, we are basically going to have to 100% the entire game, which is absolutely no easy feat. On top of that, we have got so many grindy achievements in this game that it almost rivals Yakuza, and we also have to pray that we get the right amount of help to get some of the most borderline impossible achievements that I've ever come across. But I wish that was it, because this game is also the most expensive a grind has ever been. This game ended up costing me a fortune to 100%. So folks, let's just get straight to it and cover a game that I am pretty certain that nobody would realise is as difficult as it is. Welcome to the Achievement Grind. The game starts with Professor Pester being a rascal. Wanting to get his hands on the files of every pinata on the island to learn their weaknesses, he breaks into Central Records, only for his moronic goons to accidentally delete all of the files instead. Our job is to bring back every single one, which, yes, is just one of the many achievements in this game that will give you a headache. With that, we walk into our new garden for the first time and get acquainted with the basics, luring pinatas into your garden, getting them to be residents, and having them smash pasties on command to make smaller animals. You get how it goes by now. But soon the leash is off and it's time to get stuck into the game properly. Now, the big upgrade over the last game is the addition of 2 new regions that bring their own kind of pinatas. The Desert Desert, which adds camels, beetles, and any other kind of sand-obsessed creature, and on the opposite side we have the Panarctic, bringing forth animals like penguins, robins, and, well, you get the idea. In these regions, we trap pinatas with the hope that we can eventually add them to our garden, but more on these later. It is only fair that we unlock our first achievement, or, well, achievements actually, as in the options is a camera, and we need to take a spectacular photo that unlocks some concept art. Fortunately, taking a picture of the blimp is perfect for this, and once done, we unlock our first achievement with Master Candied Camera. I then spammed the camera some more until I'd taken 10 pictures in total, and surprise surprise, once we did that, we also unlock Candid Camera. Now, Trouble in Paradise plays pretty much identical to the last game. It just has more animals, more plants, and just more content really. One of the new additions to the game though is being able to hatch twin pinatas and something called wildcards. With 6 of an animal in your garden, getting to your mate in record time will allow them to be twinned. But if you collect all of the hearts as well, you will get wildcard pinatas, which will birth the pinata with a small difference, like bumps on the shell instead of spots, or massively curly eyelashes. They are small things, but boy do they skyrocket the price you can sell them at. So we wasted no time in this, starting with the Bispotties, an early animal and easy to get. But speaking of easy to get, twinning and wildcard pinatas bring their own achievements as well. So when we get all of the hearts the first time and hatch our first wildcard variant, we unlock, well, wildcard variant. Then we ace the minigame once more, this time getting twin wildcards. When they both hatch, so does our next achievement, twin birth. Now for the first 5 hours, let's say, we were getting the basics down and the start of our garden sorted. We started to gain levels, and with that, the type of animals were starting to improve. But we are a long way off anything worth bragging about yet. It didn't take long, but I was already so glad to be back here again, as Viva Pinata is a real comfort game for me, and it's been years since I've last played this, so I could already feel myself getting comfortable. Over the course of those 5 hours that I've mentioned, we also unlocked a couple more achievements as well. Now, another new thing that you can do in this game is teach your pinata tricks. Much like changing their colour, feeding an animal certain things will have the chance for them to take to the stage in a phenomenal spectacle. When they do that, we can twat them with a stick so that they remember it, and for teaching our first trick to a pinata, we also unlock Instructor. We started to attract some real animals to the garden finally, and even got our first space upgrade. Things were falling into place nicely. In fact, we already have our next silly little achievement as well. Eventually in the shop you were able to buy a train. We just have to buy one. It is that simple. We throw it in our garden and for some bizarre reason Choo Choo unlocks. Definitely a weird random achievement, but I'm not mad at it. Through working in the other regions we had also unlocked almost every surface type. Grass, snow and sand was already ours. So when we noticed that Costelot had finally stocked the final type that we need, the long grass, we snapped it up. This as well is another glorious achievement. As for owning every type of surface pack packet in the game, we unlock Packet Bulger. Now, it may seem like I'm just listing achievements right now, and I guess that's pretty much true, but right now there isn't really anything to comment on. We're still in the process of unlocking seeds, animals, and enemies. Since I'm not going to just sit here listing the things that we unlocked, I decided to sort of speed through the next 20 hours and get to the real start of the true pain of the grind. So, on that note, another new addition to the games are the races and beauty contests. We can choose a pinata to enter and we hope that we come out victorious. Not only because winning is great, but for achievements of course. Since we had a wildcard Bispotty, winning the beauty contest was easy. Everybody voted for us as they rightly should, and we unlock Exhibitor. And the same this time with the races. We charged towards the finish line as best as we could. Once won as well, Speed Freak also unlocks. So with a bit of a foot on the game now, I decided that it's time to start tackling the 2 new regions, as there are a bunch of achievements for essentially mastering these locations. The desert is the first region that we chose to complete. I want to collect all of the desert animals, plant all of the plants, and just generally ace that bit first. So one by one we started to trap and transform the animals that we could into residents of our garden, along with getting twins, wildcard, and master romancer for all of the animals that we caught, which is a lot of work. Fortunately for us, it pays extremely well, so this is also the best strat for money farming. Now in the last game, a couple of animals are only obtainable by evolving a different animal by feeding them something. Well, that's no different here, and in fact there are more achievements tied to these new evolutions, and our first is here. As when we feed a Pret's Tail a bone, he transforms into a stunning Pyena, unlocking us 2 more achievements with Pyena evolution and Desert Collector for making 3 desert species resident in our garden. Not bad progress at all, but nowhere near close to finishing. Now earlier I said that the point of this game was to restore all of the pinata files in the database, and we do this by sending pinatas to parties once we've captured them. Not only does this give a hell of a lot of XP, which lets us blast through the leveling, but as you may expect, we also have achievements tied to this. The biggest for restoring every file possible, but for now we just send our 10th in total and unlock Record Keeper. By now we had actually unlocked the majority of the game. All of the ruffians were back, as well as Testados and Professor Pester himself, but we just permanently lock him out of the garden with a simple wall. Along with having a fully sized garden, it is time to seriously get to work. Still on the desert grind, the next animal we get is also another evolution with its own achievements, and realizing that I had the raspberry needed, our next task was here. So when we feed a pig a slice of cheesecake, he also majestically transforms into a hoghurt, which then unlocks us hoghurt evolution. Making decent progress so far, I knew there were only a couple more desert related challenges left, so because I don't want to spend the rest of the video talking about this one section, let's just quickly smash through the next few achievements that we unlocked. The following was for fully growing every type of desert plant once. There wasn't that many, but it took us a while to unlock the final seed that we needed. Once the cactus had been grown, we unlock Desert Green Fingers. After that we have another 2 desert related evolutions, more than I thought, but we fed a Cluckles a cactus seed, turning it into a Chockstrich, unlocking Chockstrich evolution, followed by feeding a Fudge Hog a coconut to turn it into a Parmadillo, of course giving us Parmadillo evolution as well. However, it was at this time in the game that I realized I made a massive mistake by choosing Trouble in Paradise, all because of a single achievement. For Famous Pinata, we need to obtain a special pinata. Sounds simple, right? Wrong, as the only way to get this achievement is by either fully 100%ing the entire game and getting it gifted to you from their official website, which is no longer online, or you have to be given one by another player who already has a Famous Pinata, when the servers have been pretty much dead for a decade. So my one and only hope of gaining this achievement was to beg on Twitter and hope that somebody could come to my rescue. So we will have to wait to see if anybody comes through. This is just one of several hurdles that we need to get to the 100%. 2 other achievements, for example, include me having to spend so much money on things that I didn't want to buy, but more on that later. Finally, it is time to be done with the desert side of things, as with the final resident being a camel to join our ranks, we tick everything off the list and unlock Master Desert Collector. Now we just need to do all of that again with the Arctic section. Joy. So far we had roughly put in about 20, maybe 30 hours in the game. It's honestly hard to tell. And once again, it's time to talk about twinning and wildcards. Of course, I mentioned that this was a phenomenal way to make money, but we also have 2 more achievements related to this, and it's time to unlock them, as when we hatch twin wildcard variants of the camels, they become the 10th total species that we do that with, unlocking us both wildcard variant master and twin birth master. So that's another small grind ticked off now. Now, throughout the game so far, we have re-met all of the friends and shop shops that we were introduced to in the first game. And finally, Paper Pets is open once again. This is fantastic as, yep, you've guessed it, we have our next achievement. We just have to put on a very specific 3-piece set on a pinata. So we jazz up the rhino right nice and proper, and once we're back out, fancy dress unlocks. The main missions right now are getting the Arctic complete, as well as making sure to send every new type of animal that we catch to a party to add to the files. Considering we were now quite highly leveled and unlocked a lot of the game already, catching and converting the Arctic animals was hilariously easy to do. So one by one we started to add them to our ranks. Now again, there isn't really much to talk about here, so let's quickly speed through some of these related achievements. First, for getting 3 Arctic residents in total in our garden, we unlocked Arctic Collector, followed extremely quickly by planting and growing the final snow plant that we need, also unlocking us Arctic Green Fingers. The next achievement we unlocked wasn't even Arctic related, but it is the next step in the achievements for restoring all of the files. This time we sent out 30 pinatas in total to parties, unlocking Master Records Keeper. We only have one more related achievement left for this, and it is to send all 88, which yes, is another hilariously long grind. Even though we knew that there was a lot of pain incoming, it didn't also slow down the rate at which we unlocked the achievements really, as we only had a couple of easy ones left. One of the more recent animals that we acquired was a flapyak. A great name for an animal, but alas, we have our next achievement, as here we can make one of these animals unbearably happy and then milk it a little bit. Once milked, we gain yak to yak. Next, like before, we kept on finding out what triggered the pinata's tricks. Now every animal in the game has 2, and for this achievement we need to teach 10 different species all of their tricks. Another achievement we'd been working on throughout the game so far when I remembered to do it, and it's time for the payoff, as when we teach the flapyak both of its tricks, we also gain Master Instructor. The next again was evolving another animal, this time the donut. Once fed a specific seed, it transforms into a Muju, and we also get Muju Evolution. The next 2 achievements, however, were very odd indeed. Definitely not something I'd expect to have to do for this game's 100%, but why not? For the next 2 achievements, we have to use our shovel to knock sweets into seed holes across the garden. I honestly have no idea why, but we need to get to work. The first was hilariously annoying, as we need a long shot. This honestly nearly took me an hour to figure out, as the controls are busted for this kind of thing. Nevertheless, we persevere and eventually hit the shot of all shots, unlocking us, well, long shot. Thankfully, the next was easy, as we just had to score 10 times from any distance. Easily farmed minutes later for gone clubbing. Now, from the last time I mentioned, we've probably put another 20 hours of progress into this game, already a considerably bigger grind than the last game. And alarmingly, I hadn't heard back a single thing about the famous pinata that I needed. Nobody was reaching out, messaged me back, and the further I got into the game, the more that I was terrified that this work would be in vain if I couldn't complete the game. But that didn't stop us from making progress. The next achievement was quite the annoying grind though. We just have to earn a gold combat medal for one of our animals. Fortunately, by now we had started to unlock and make resident some of the rarest and best animals in the game, like the lion, the tiger, and the tunicorn. But for this, we chose Tony. For the gold medal, we have to win a total of 20 fights. So for over an hour straight, we tap the tiger to anger, it fought with a random animal, it wins the fight, we rinse and repeat. Definitely an annoying achievement, however, we still unlock Come and Have a Go anyway. With this complete, we only had one more Arctic animal needed to complete that region as well. For it, we need a Fizzly Bear so that we can evolve it into a Pololly Bear. But my lord, this wasn't easy either. For some bizarre reason, a Fizzly Bear would just not appear. I specialized the garden specifically so that it could be irresistible. However, it just wouldn't play ball. And then another hour later, one just decided to turn up. I was fueled by hatred, but the next 2 achievements definitely helped, as when we fed it a blue gem, it transformed into a Pololly Bear, unlocking us Master Arctic Collector for every Arctic animal, and obviously Pololly Bear Evolution for, well, have a guess. Folks, that signals the final easy achievement to get, and honestly, some of them weren't even really that easy. It took us roughly 50 hours to get here, which is a decent grind in itself, but now the pain was only going to magnify tremendously, and the next achievement was one of the most painful. It's time to create a dinosaur. One of the boldest new additions to this game is being able to hatch a dino, and we need to do it for an achievement. To get this, we need to do a couple of things though. Firstly, we need to make a new garden, call it Pinata People, unlock the credits, break every animal in the credits to unlock a well. Once you've unlocked it, we add it to the garden, give 10,000 coins to either trapped at the bottom of the well to get a piece of amber. With the amber, we now build a new garden so we can hire diggers to find 2 bones in the mines. We need 3 in total for Bart to tinker all 3 of them to make into dinosaur parts, which we then make an egg with the amber, and then get a Chuckles to hatch it with a Jurassic Quiff. Yeah, sounds a lot, right? Yeah, it was. But the worst part about this is that it took me 10 hours alone to get the parts that we needed, and we didn't really get them all. We hired 4 diggers and it took us 2 days to find one of the bones alone. Bearing in mind, I'm not talking about in-game days. I'm talking about actual 2 days. Fortunately, we'd already bought the red one from Cost-A-Lot, but my lord, the blue bone just never showed. And again, I was terrified that this was bugged and that it may be another extremely difficult obstacle to get over for the 100%. That is, until I tried something. What if, instead of digging for 2 bones, we just buy 3 red ones from Lottie and use those? Yeah, it worked. We had wasted 10 hours digging for a blue bone when I could have just bought 3 from the get-go. Oh, I was hilariously annoyed, like totally on the verge of losing my mind. However, it doesn't matter, as once we hatch the stupid little egg, we get our dinosaur, and more importantly, the achievement Dino Keeper. My next task was winning 10 races and 10 beauty contests for another 2 achievements. This didn't take as long, thankfully, but my god, it was mind-rottingly boring to do. So we started with the contests. Honestly, we won most of them, as our animals had every variant, medal and wildcard under the sun. So about 40 minutes later, we unlock Master Exhibitor. But folks, something phenomenal happened. As I started to get progress on the races, somebody messaged me. A hero in a sea of shit, and it took nearly a month of searching, but we finally found one. Somebody who had a famous pinata and was willing to get me the achievements. This erased every bad feeling that I had, as I knew we were on the verge of one of the hardest achievements that I would ever be able to get, and I'm not just talking about in this game. So we joined their little slice of heaven, accidentally unlocking another achievement first, as this saviour had the new train in their garden, which we would unlock later, but by just being in its presence it unlocks us. Really? Choo choo, master. That's not a thing, but sod that. We are here for the grand prize, and the famous gorilla is revealed to us, unlocking us one of the rarest achievements ever with famous pinata. The weight that was off my shoulders now was so immense. Don't get me wrong, we are not close to the end by any means, but this is the achievement that would make or kill the run. So with a new burst of life, we got to work, as this game is not beating me. As you may expect, the next thing that we finished up was the 10 races. It took a lot longer than I was expecting, but we eventually come out on top for Master Speed Freak. The last real grind and the final tasks are now ahead of us, and this is where so many more hours get added to the end. I haven't mentioned them yet, but Langston offers challenges in this game, where you have to send a certain pinata to a party, and the more challenges you complete, the harder the requirements are to fill. To begin with, you'll have to send a Robin or a Whelm with max candiosity, which is hilariously easy, but some of the last challenges require you to send one of the rarest animals, like the tunicorn, teach them both tricks, change the colour, have them dressed a certain way, and then send them, which can be insane. And these are the challenges that we must now complete. All 110 of them. Oh, God help me. During this process, though, we will of course unlock every animal in the game, completing the Records Keeper achievement as well, so that cushioned the blow. Right before we began, I decided to get another achievement first with the help of my Twitch chat. Also, if you haven't yet, go swing by my Twitch if you are so inclined. It would be great to have you watch my misery. But for another achievement, I need to play online co-op with a garden of 4 players. This was impossible to do naturally, as there isn't ever that many people online at once. But with my amazing chat helping me out, we filled up the floor slots and waited the hour that we needed, unlocking full house. And now the challenges can commence. So we got to work in completing them. Now, honestly, there isn't really anything here to say. We had most of the animals already, so we were just buying them from Gretchen, dolling them up and sending them across, whilst trying to find the last maybe 10 pinatas I needed to have them all. And oh my god, these 10 were the biggest pains in the ass that you could possibly imagine. So many would just not show up. I made new gardens, checked the landscape, perfectly matched their requirements, but they wouldn't even show, let alone visit. But with no other options, we carried on with the challenges, hoping that things would change. And the very first couple of regions were no real trouble other than the grind itself. Considering they involve very easy animals to unlock, it may be maybe only took us 6 or 7 hours to get the first collection. And in those hours we managed to complete Region 1, Region 2, Region 4 and Region 6, unlocking all of their respective achievements as well. But with these complete, we reached a terrible problem. The next animals that I needed for the challenges were the last few that I hadn't managed to unlock yet. Pigeon, owl, and for some reason the one that gave me the most pain was the quackberry. It is one of the first animals that you unlock in the game, but we haven't seen one for the entirety of it. Over the last several hours we managed to get our hands on the few animals that we needed, but this duck just broke me. Nothing I did would get one to spawn. So I decided to just try one more time, create a brand new garden, and I think this ended up being the 6th in total just for the duck alone. But somehow and magically, one finally arrived. It became a resident almost immediately, and with that we have the final 2 animals. As once we evolve the duck into an goose and send it on their way, it is our final animal complete and the records are full once more, meaning we unlock another phenomenally grindy achievement with Expert Records Keeper. With every single animal available, sending the rest to finish these challenges became a lot easier. It was just the smaller details like what they were wearing or the colour that they wear that added the time, and soon we were able to finish the rest of the regions in maybe the next 5 hours, unlocking achievements for completing Region 3, 5 and 7. And for completing every single one available, that in turn unlocked us another achievement with Master Challenger. It took us roughly 90 hours of gameplay to get to this part, folks. I kid you not, it may not look it, but honestly this was a serious grind, and it nearly broke me multiple times. But with that, we only have 4 achievements remaining. The next 2 thankfully weren't the hardest. We just need to add a second controller to the garden and let it idle for 3 hours. When an hour had passed, we unlocked Couch Socialite. And then for hitting that wonderful 3-hour mark, we then unlocked Master Couch Socialite. God, they're hard to say. Now, you may think that there's only 2 achievements left, that's the hard part over, and there's nothing more that could break Jazzy's spirit. Well, wrong, as the last 2 achievements alone ended up costing me over £100 for a game that came out in 2008. For the last 2 achievements, we need to scan animals into the garden using the real-life Xbox Vision camera. Now, I ordered one of these, but stupid brain-dead Jazzy didn't think to check if it was compatible with Xbox Ones. And fun fact, it's not. So I had to buy an Xbox 360 specifically for this. That took about a week to arrive. But all excited that I'd finally be able to finish this game, we plugged it in and got it ready. Until I realised that the Game Pass isn't on the Xbox 360 either. So that meant that I had to order another Xbox 360 copy of Trouble in Paradise. A couple of days later, that also arrived. I then threw the disc in, and I kid you not, folks, the disc didn't work. It was destroyed beyond belief, and I wanted to cry. So just wanting this over with, I bought another copy of Trouble in Paradise on the Xbox 360 store for a fucking delusional price. But who cares? It is finally time to finish the game. We installed it, opened it up, and plugged the camera in. Folks, I'm going to give you a guess on what happens next. Genuinely, pause the video and leave a comment, and have a guess, because you won't believe it. The camera didn't work either. I kid you not, the camera was faulty, so I had to send it back and get a replacement which arrived close to a week later. By this time, I had indeed lost the plot. I didn't ever want to see this game again, but we plucked up the courage to try one more time and we plugged the camera in. Folks, it worked. It finally worked. We can get this stupid, horrible game finished and I never have to think about it again. Now, honestly, it was horrible to get this camera set up and starting to work, but it did eventually. The first card that we used unlocked us Card Sharp, and roughly 20 minutes later, we added our 10th and final animal and unlocked the final achievement, Master Card Sharp. Folks, we are done. I cannot believe it. Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise is complete, and at long last, one of the hardest games that I have ever covered is complete, and it brings me so much joy to be able to say that for now, the grind is over. Honestly, when I started Trouble in Paradise, I knew it would be tougher than the last game, but this was a grind that I was not ready for. The amount of horrible RNG that we had, the grind of the achievements alone, the card sharp stuff, the famous pinata, the spending, everything was stacked up against us here, but we came out on top. The grind never stops, and this game is not the one to defeat me, although I am amazed that we were able to finish it. On the whole though, I adored this game. Achievements and the grind aside, it is the best Viva Pinata Pinata experience that you can get. So much from the last game has been tweaked, and they added so many new animals, plant zones, and updated a lot of the quality of life problems from the first game. I adore this game, I really do. However, please don't grind this yourselves, folks. It isn't worth it. It really isn't. The only thing that really bugged me about this game is how limited your garden can be. It doesn't take much for the game to freak out about the amount of things on screen, and it will block you from being able to add anything more. This sucks because sometimes you get this message and your garden will be pretty much empty. I really felt like the game needed to allow you to add a lot more things to craft a nicer garden, as you have to compromise a lot for space, which is a shame. Other than that, yeah, I love this game. It's nostalgic bias, I'm not gonna lie, but I really do love it. So with that, let's get to the stats. It took us a staggering 94 hours to be able to 100% this game. My rating for Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise is going to be a solid 8.5 out of 10. They pretty much improved on everything from the last game, however there are a couple of things that just hold it back a little bit. So fingers crossed for a future Viva Pinata sequel. I would love a third game. I feel like in today's day and age they could make an absolute masterpiece. Come on, Rare. And I am really hoping that we will eventually get a third game. Knowing today's technology and what they would be able to do, I imagine they could craft the most amazing Viva Pinata experience. So Rare, come on. For the difficulty of the achievements, I think you will be just as amazed as me when I give Viva Pinata a 10 out of 10 for difficulty. It is only the second game to receive a difficulty rating this high besides Yakuza 0. That is what I'm comparing it to. So trust me folks, unless you want to rip out your hair, spend a fortune and hate yourself, I wouldn't cover this game's achievements. Play the game. The game is absolutely fantastic, but to get 100% of the achievements, it'll cost you a bit of everything. And for that reason, of course, I am going to say that the hardest achievement in the game is the one for getting the famous pinata. I got unbearably lucky by finding somebody who was able to give me one, and it took about a month to find that person. So if you want to go for this yourselves, be warned that you will be looking for a while. But there we go, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. I cannot believe it. I'll say it again. I cannot believe that a game like Viva Pinata could get a 10 out of 10 difficulty, but there we go. That's what we find out here. On that note as well, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe for more achievement grinds as well. I am working on some really, really amazing games right now, and I'm going to be bringing some hopefully very good videos in the future. Also, don't forget to join the Discord and follow me on Twitter for behind the scenes for the achievement grinds, to know what we're doing, what videos I'm making, what games I'm grinding, and to be part of a huge achievement hunting community as well. So please make sure you join. It would be lovely to have you. However, folks, that is it from me today. Thank you once again so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to see you in a future one. Until then though, take care. Bye bye for now.